Hello everyone and welcome to SkillCapped. I'm Notorious Dub, and in Valorant it feels like every game is won or lost by a long string of lost rounds or one rounds, where the game starts to snowball out of control in almost an instant. And the reason for this is that one small economic mistake can cause a butterfly effect that causes your entire team to not be able to buy together, or trying to buy too much, causing you to constantly be at a disadvantage in every round. And in this guide, we're going to be breaking down the basics, all of the terminology you need to know in the economy meta right now, and then going through round by round and talking about all of the different scenarios so you know exactly when to make each decision so you can start picking up more rounds. And then we're going to finish it off by talking about how to save up for the coveted operator. And if you're serious about improving, then go to SkillCapped.com to unlock our hyper improvement system that will teach you how to win more gunfights, master your agent, and so much more. It's backed by our rank improvement guarantee, so you have nothing to lose. So come join over 500,000 satisfied members of SkillCapped, improve that KDA, and get the rank you've always wanted at SkillCapped.com. Link in the description below. Now, before we get started, this wouldn't be an economy guide if I didn't talk about spending your money together. Because Valorant is a team game, and your money should be viewed as your team's money, because you're only as strong as your team's weakest link. So drop your teammates if they need it, don't be afraid to request weapons if you need it, and make sure that you're playing and buying as a team. Because there is no faster way to snowball into a 0-13 loss than to stagger your team's buys and never be able to buy together. Now, with Valorant being out for quite some time now, you probably know how the basics of the money system works by now. But let's quickly go over that so we can start to understand the reasoning behind the decisions that you're going to be making. Now, in Valorant, there are 3 ways to generate money. Round bonuses, which will give you 3,000 credits for winning the round, 1,900 credits for if you lose one round, 2,400 credits for losing 2 in a row, and 2,900 for losing 3 or more rounds in a row. And the only time this doesn't apply is if you survive while losing a round as an attacker without planting the bomb, or as a defender when the enemy did plant the bomb. Now, Riot Games implemented this change to try and stop the massive bankrolls teams were able to build and stop players from, anytime the round was looking grim, run as fast as they can, away as far as they can to keep their weapon and still get enough money and have a huge bankroll to be able to buy their team with. And then everything other than that is extra and comes from kills, which will grant you 200 credits per kill, and planting, which will grant 300 credits to the entire attacking team whenever the bomb gets planted. Now that we have the basics out of the way, let's take it into the game and talk about exactly what we should be doing and when, starting with the first 4 rounds, where your decisions are the 4 most important decisions you're going to be making in the game. Now, in the first round, we have Pistol Round, where everyone in the game starts off with 800 credits, and at this point, most of you know what you want to be going for on Pistol Round, but if you're unsure, I made a Pistol Round guide on this channel that might just be right up your alley. Now, on Pistol Round, you're choosing between buying out your utility, light shields, or just spending the majority of your money on a ghost. But the most important thing here is that you are using your money. With Pistol Round being the most important round in the game, your main goal should be buying to win that round. Although it does sound good to be able to keep your abilities whenever you die, so it's not wasted money, if a ghost or light armor gives you the best chance to win this one round, then that's what you should be going for. That's because round 2 gives the team that won round 1 the biggest single advantage a team can get in one round, strictly based off of the economy difference. And the standard meta play here is for the winning team to force up to Spectres, Bulldogs, and the occasional Vandal or Phantom if that player is feeling themselves, but we have been seeing a lot of people like Asu going for a pistol in the second round. Now, the thought process here is simple and sounds pretty good. You have full armor and a ghost, and the enemy most likely is just going to have classics and they're not going to buy. So this round should be an easy one anyway. And plus, if you win this round, it allows you to save up that money and have just enough money to buy a rifle and armor for the next 2 rounds with around 5,000 credits in the bank on round 3. Now, I've been seeing so many people do this because people like Asu or Hiko will do this and they just blindly follow them without understanding why they're actually doing it. But this type of strategy isn't always enough, because if the enemy decides to force, which is becoming more and more common, then your odds of winning the round plummet and your economy goes to shambles for the next 2 rounds if you do lose that round. Which is why we're seeing teams opt for the force of Spectres, Bulldogs, and Rifles, and then they'll have 1 or 2 people max on their team sticking with the Ghost to squeeze that little extra economy out of the round. This allows those 2 people to force up in the next round and increase your team's odds at stealing that round, without actually killing your economy just by forcing up Vandals. But anything more than 2, sticking with the Ghost, puts your team at too high of a risk at losing that free round. These 2 rounds are usually going to be the only times you're staggering your buys in Valorant, because you want to have enough firepower to get those wins that round, but also be able to have enough money to make the next round possible as well. So don't be the guy sticking with your ghost when only 2 people on your team decided to buy. Force up and secure that round first. And as the attacker, you just want to make sure that you have enough money to buy for the next round. And this is what I see people doing wrong the most often. Now when saving for round 3, you should be buying something to give you even the slightest chance of winning the round. Now keep in mind, the magic number is 3,900, which is exactly what you need for heavy armor and a rifle in Valorant. And here you may be disagreeing with me because you still need money for utility, right? Well, this is the perfect time to take a step back and talk about heavy armor versus light armor in Valorant. Now this is one thing I see over and over again causing people to have far suboptimal buys than they could afford. Now light armor is going to give you 125 total HP for 400 credits, while heavy armor is going to give you 150 total HP for 1000 credits. And while this is an improvement, it's not even close to worth it if you're sacrificing a lot of utility or resorting to a bulldog or a spectre instead of a vandal or a phantom. Now the reason is because the damage thresholds for taking damage with the vandal remains exactly the same, with 1 shot to the head to kill you and 4 shots to the body to kill you. Meaning that versus a vandal, light armor and heavy armor are almost exactly the same, and the phantom actually operates the exact same way for under 15 meters. But whenever you get past that 15 meter threshold, the phantom takes 1 extra shot to kill in all scenarios. So, long story short, while having heavy armor is very important, especially against phantoms at a distance, it's heavily overvalued when your economy is on the line, because in the majority of scenarios, it actually wouldn't make a difference anyway. And this is also why I say the standard number you need to remember is 3,900, because if you have all of your utility, 3,900 gets you a vandal and heavy armor, but you can always go vandal and light armor and buy out the rest of your utility. Now, back to choosing what you should be buying on round 2 after you lost round 1. Losing round 1 nets you 1,900 credits, and round 2 nets you 2,400 credits, leaving you 4,300 credits to work with, meaning that you have 400 credits left over that you can spend and still be in the clear for next round, which coincidentally is exactly how much the Frenzy costs. And the Frenzy, since the Shorty nerf, rest in peace, is now the king of being able to kill 1 enemy in almost an instant, all while investing almost 0 money into the weapon. Now if you've gotten a couple of kills, or even just a bomb plant, then you have enough money to think about going for a ghost or even a sheriff, and while people with insane aim, like tens, like to go for the sheriff, the general rule of thumb is that if you're playing close angles, then you should opt for the Frenzy. If you're going for medium range engagements, or just want to have a good gun for whatever occasion pops up for you, then opt for the Ghost. And of course, if you're looking for the long range or the one-tap headshot potential, then the Sheriff is the only real option that you have. But on the other hand, you can always choose to force on round 2 after you lose round 1. And this usually comes when your team gets the plan off, so you have that little extra money for weapons and utility to help secure that round. But with the rise of the Stinger, and the Stinger only players hitting Radiant, showing just how strong the weapon can actually be, the second round force is becoming more and more common and consistent. Because let's be honest here, even if you have a Phantom and heavy armor, a team full of Stingers full sprinting onto your bomb site, spraying you down while running full speed and having no interest in actually stopping, is an absolute nightmare to try and defend. But this is mostly just for attacker side. Defender side forces are much less common and much less consistent, because you can't maneuver a man advantage as easily, and you don't get the extra money for planting the bomb. But that brings us to round 3, where the losing team finally buys their rifles and armor. But what should the winning team be doing? While the reason playing the early rounds properly is so important is because when you get to this round, you want to be able to swing the momentum back in your favor. Now your team should have forced last round, which now leaves you with 3,000 credits in the bank and hopefully the weapons that you used last round. And that's exactly what you should be keeping to fight this round with. And everyone's been calling this a bonus round, because you're essentially just looking for a free round where you don't really have to spend any money and you can work on your economy and breaking down the enemy's economy at the same time. Now if you don't have the weapon that you were using last round, then your job is to make sure that you have 3,900, once again, in the bank for the next round and make sure that you don't die this round. Now your team has weapons to have a decent chance of getting a kill, so don't go aggressive trying to get the round over with because it's a save round for you anyway. Now sit back, play off your teammates that have guns. Be the guy instead that plays beside the person with a weapon, gets the trade out kill and then can pick up the weapon and get your team back into a good scenario later in the round. And also don't be that guy that forces a Vandal round 3 because they didn't have a gun to work with. Your job isn't to win round 3, even though it would be nice. Your job is to set yourself up to win round 4. The only time you should be forcing a Vandal round 3 is if you stuck with the Ghost round 2 and will have enough money to at least force the next round anyway. Because think about this from the enemy's perspective. They lost 2 rounds in a row. They have around 4,000 credits in the bank and they're spending all of that money to try and win this round. Now if they manage to win that round, but lose a couple of members, then they now have 3,000 credits in the bank, and not all of them have rifles. And they also can't get rifles without missing out on all of their armor. And this also resets their loss streak, meaning that losing the next round puts them right back in economic trouble and starts that vicious cycle right back over again. And this is exactly what you want to happen. At this point, you're already up 2 rounds to 1, and your team ends up with a perfect bye against enemies without a perfect bye, giving you a great chance to go up 3-1 before the economy stabilizes. And that is how the snowball happens. Winning pistol round almost guarantees you those first 2 rounds, and it gives you a huge opportunity to go up 3-1 and have a good enough economy to last for nearly the rest of the half, while the enemy team is scrounging for credits, trying to get enough money to buy, and their economy is essentially ruined until they can make a huge change and build it back up. Alright, now after these rounds, the economy is essentially stable. Almost all rounds are going to be full buys versus full buys, or full buys versus saves from here on out. But that doesn't mean there aren't some economic decisions you should be making to give your team a bit of an edge. So let's talk about the different types of saves and forces and when you should be going for those. First of all, you have the save round, which, as you can probably guess, just means that you're saving up credits so you can buy for the next round. Now you're going to want to go for this whenever you look at the scoreboard and the enemy has enough money to get more people, rifles, and armor than your team does. Now when you're on a save round, feel free to buy a little bit, with the best options being the Sheriff or the Stinger. But use this number just below your credits in the buy phase that tells you exactly how much money you'll have the next round bare minimum. And on save rounds, you might have heard of something called a hero buy, which is essentially where one person on your team is going to force up into a high tier weapon and try to make something happen to steal the round from the enemies. Now the only time you should really be doing this is if you have enough money to buy the next round and your team doesn't need you to buy anything for them anyway. Now I do see this happen pretty often. It seems like everyone on the team loves to go aggressive because they have pistols and they want to just get the round over with. But don't be that guy that throws the round that early on. Once again, sit back, play off the guy with the gun who has the best chance to win a gunfight, support him, but make sure if he does die, snag that gun as quick as possible, because it gives you another chance at getting a few picks. And next up we have the half buy, which is very simple. Everyone on your team is forcing up to where they have enough for rifles and armor anyway, but you're choosing to spend a little more money. Where on the save round you're usually going to have money left over in the bank to help build a bankroll, on the half buy you're forcing as much as you can while still being able to hit that 3,900 credit minimum. And the goal here is to make the round very expensive for the enemy team. Now in this situation, it's often alright to trade 1 for 1, because like we talked about earlier, the enemy is forcing all of their money while you're going to be able to buy the next round anyway. So kills, even if you don't win the round, could put the enemy into economic trouble, causing them to not be able to buy properly in the next round. And finally we have the force buy, which is where you're going to be spending all of your money on weapons, even though you don't have enough money to buy exactly what you want. Now sometimes you're going to have to force when a couple of your teammates have good buys because you need to be useful and the team should always be on the same page, so you're forcing up to give you a chance at winning the round because your teammates already have good weapons. And other times you're going to be forcing as a team, which is often going to be to catch the enemies off guard, or if you see a weakness in the enemy's game, like someone playing too passive of an angle on a bomb site, or just playing a little too aggressive and you can stack and try to kill that person. Now force rounds are best used on attacker side, where you can stack and overwhelm the enemies with numbers, but also they work very well on defender side with the power of the close range weapons that we have, like the Judge and the Stinger, that absolutely tear through enemy pushes and can easily trade 1 kill while the enemy still has to push into you. Now of course, one of the most asked questions right now is how you're supposed to save up for an operator, and all of this madness when the operator costs so much now. And while the operator did get nerfed a bit, it's still a huge problem for the enemy team. And saving up for the operator is very simple, but usually goes against what I've said so far. Now here we see Wardell opting for the Ghost round 1 with a ton of utility, and because he picked up a few rounds on pistol round, he's able to snag heavy armor and the rest of his utility and still have enough for the operator in the next round. But the biggest thing here is making sure that you have 2,000 credits in the bank at the start of round 2. Now with the operator being so expensive now at 5,000 credits, we're seeing a ton of people pick up the operator without armor on round 3. And I know what you're thinking, if I'm winning the first 2 rounds, I thought I was supposed to save on round 3. But this is the only time that's not the case, because the operator does so much to change your team's odds of winning the round, that it's worth it to risk your ability to buy the next round anyway, because the enemy physically could not have saved up enough money to buy an operator this round. So your team has the operator and the other team doesn't, which is a big difference. And this is especially a good strategy if you're playing Jet and you're getting close to your knives for the next round anyway. So you can spend all of your money and then the next round you just use your knives, so you're essentially not even down a weapon at this point. But remember, if you want to improve, win more gunfights, and get the rank you've always wanted, then check out SkillCapped.com, link in the description below. And ultimately, Valorant is a team game, and playing together will win you more rounds and more games than anything else. So use these strategies and just make sure you're on the same page as your team. But I'm curious, what's your biggest struggle when it comes to the economy in Valorant? Let me know in the comments below, and make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn those bells on, because we here at SkillCapped have a ton more comprehensive premium guides coming your way to keep you up to date and ahead of the pack. And as always, we here at SkillCapped want to thank you for spending this little bit of your day with us, and I'll see you in the next video. I'm Notorious Dub, signing off.